Today we're going to watch a short video that we put together on Theosophy and Plato. The notes included in the video have been extracted primarily from a talk titled The Esoteric Plato by Dr. Rene Weber. There are also quotes from H.P. Blavatsky's The Secret Doctrine. Now, Dr. Weber was Professor Emeritus of Philosophy at Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey. And during her academic career, she taught courses on Hinduism, Buddhism, and Plato. She received her doctorate from Columbia. She was an active member of the Theosophical Society. She served on the board of directors of the Theosophical Society in America. And Renee was a very close, dear friend of Dora Kuntz. And Renee visited the Alcott headquarters in Wheaton, Illinois, many times during the years of Dora's tenure as national president. So we plan to make her complete lecture, The Esoteric Plato, available in the archive section of our website. It's an audio recording, it's not video, it's just audio, but there are several very, very good audio recordings on philosophy by Dr. Weber in the archives of the website of the Theosophical Society in America. So we're going to play the video, but before we start the video, let me just say that there are excellent lectures, videos, and audios by Dr. Stephan Heller, who with Manly P. Hall was very active with the Philosophical Research Society in Los Angeles. And, Stephan Heller's probably his primary area of expertise is Gnosticism. And I have a couple of just comments from Stephan that I took from a lecture that I listened to recently. And Stephan's, here's a quote: "We may consider the gods as emanations of power and light." And he also mentioned that Theosophy is an alternative spirituality. So you could say the slow road, is going to church and doing conventional religion, which is fine. But there is a faster road, which is alternative spirituality. And Theosophy falls under that umbrella. So as we watch the video today, we have the opportunity to reconnect with the gods through the archetypal images. Stephan has tremendous expertise in Jungian psychology, depth psychology. And of course, Jung is famous for having introduced that term to us 100 years ago, the archetypes and the archetypal images. Also, I wanted to mention before we start the video, another famous theosophist from our history. His name was Jinnarajadasa, and he was born in Sri Lanka, and he was a scholar, lecturer, writer. He was the fourth president, international president of the Theosophical Society. That was from 1945, 1953. Jinnarajadasa was an accomplished linguist. He traveled extensively for 50 years as an international lecturer, speaking in English, French, Italian, Spanish, and Portuguese, as well as Sinhalese and Tamil. Tamil, of course, is the language of southern India, where the Theosophical headquarters is situated. But he was known to his wide circle of Theosophical friends as Raja, or Brother Raja, or CJ. But a lot of people aren't familiar with C. Generajadasa. But you can find these materials on the website of the Theosophical Society and also the website of the International Society. So this is something, just a paragraph that Generajadasa wrote many years ago. He said that he's talking about the importance of mythology. And he said that in ancient Greece, the Greeks created pieces of art to serve as physical embodiments of the attributes the gods represented. They believed the art was sacred, and through the art, one could embrace the qualities of the gods. Theosophists recognized this tradition, and as Generajadasa comments, this is his paragraph. Similarly, it is that during those periods of spiritual dryness, we can, if we have so trained ourselves, commune with God through various forms of art. For art, fundamentally, is a revelation of the divine nature. It reveals what Plato called the idea or the archetype. The ancient Greeks were particularly sensitive to this aspect of art. If they looked at a statue of Apollo, the sun god, it was not merely to them a statue of some handsome youth, but there radiated from the statue a mysterious influence, so that they came to feel the influence of God. Similarly, with the goddess Athena, they felt when there was an adequately beautiful image in a temple that somehow, as they offered their adoration to it, the image was like a wonderful window through which they looked into the divine nature. So with that brief introduction, we're going to delve into Plato. And after it's about a 30-minute video with a music track, some great music. And we'll watch the video. We should think of it more as a visual meditation, but there are notes, in between the art that we're going to view. And after the video, of course, we will, just have some time to have some discussion, comments, or whatever. So Hope, thank you so much once again, for taking care of the Zoom part of this. And, hopefully some other people will still join us today. But whenever you're ready, Hope, you can, go ahead and start that.
Are we mellow? I am. Oh, that was lovely. Thank you.
Well, one little anecdote is that back in the day, before the city of Athens had a name, the citizens had a contest to find out, what they would name the city. And both Athena, the goddess Athena, and Poseidon wanted the city to be named after them. So the city said, fine, we'll consider that. And so Athena brought a gift. She brought the gift of a cultivated olive tree. That was her gift to the people of the city. And Poseidon approached the city with his trident, and he scratched the ground and created a spring of salt water. And that spring of water was Poseidon's gift, to the people of the city. So they liked Athena's gift better. And of course, there are these wonderful olive groves all around the Mediterranean, as you know. But it's all symbolic. And, it's a story, but it's the story of, how Athens, the birthplace of Plato, how it got its name. Well, I have the script printed in front of me, so if anyone, has any comments or any, anything they want to review, just let me know.
I found the video was stunning, and I'm hoping to just watch it again. And I feel like I could spend a summer on just sort of with the information too. And I just wrote down a couple of things, like justice is a state of consciousness. I don't know why that blew my mind, but it did. To the idea of that. And I had just a little anecdote that may or, when I was in Athens and I was I had a chance to go to Athens and visit the Parthenon a few years ago, quite a few years ago now. And I just remembered that I thought, well, I'm going to try and meet Athena, just to do like a little journey, a little shamanic thing. And I don't know whatever, but I didn't know that much about her personality. I knew about the art and stuff because I'd studied that in school a little bit. And I just said, hello, and here I am at the Parthenon, and she was so formal and polite and very just formal. There was formal politeness to her, and I didn't know that about her. And I just thought, well, and I just essentially introduced myself and said thank you for allowing, that kind of thing. And I had mentioned that to someone afterwards, and they said, oh yes, Athena is very formal and very it wasn't wild and woolly at all. It was just very kind and lovely and formal, and like it should be, like you're meeting someone important. And so that was my, whether or not I was actually talking to her or is my imagination, I don't know. But yeah, so that's my Athena anecdote.
Thank you. That's very cool. When you were there, because I don't know that I'll ever get there, but seeing what's left, wasn't it stunning? Like the size, the proportion. I get the impression that it's just huge.
It is. It's stunning, and it's some of the things that are even more ancient than like the Parthenon. There's other. We went to Delphi too, and there's like an older sort of ceremonial space right by that, and those things still carry, I think, a lot of potency in them, even though they're ruined. They're huge. Everything is so huge there. But yeah, it's really quite. I was in awe, and I was also in awe of the people who live in the shadow of the Parth and I know we were walking down one of the streets, and there's cats and dogs that just sort of roam around. They are all so friendly and well behaved and well fed and well cared for. And another thing about the Greek people that we learned is that in a neighborhood, the strays, the people who live there pool money for their veterinary care and their food. So strays aren't actually strays, they're the community's animals. And so that's why the cats will come up and just have a conversation with you while you're walking around, because they're just greeting you to the neighborhood. And I was shocked by that, because the Greek people, like, in large too, it wasn't just a community, it was what they did and how they cared for the animals that live outside.
I heard that was true in Turkey also.
Oh, really?
I saw a movie about cats in Turkey, and all the strays are cared for. They're all fed, and they give them veterinary care, and they're all cared for. Yeah,
So
it's really
special.
beautiful.
It is. It's beautiful.
One thing that really struck me, John, and everybody, when just the dates, it seemed that Plato and Patanjali were alive and at the same time. And it never occurred to me before, but it seems like they were both contemporaries in a sense that they were both alive at the same time period, like 300, I guess it was approximately 300 BC or so. And I'm sure they probably didn't know about each other or have any way of communicating, but they both were kind of tuning into the same teachings, the same reality, or in touch with the same consciousness independently of each other, but at the same time.
Well, I'm sure that if you asked Blavatsky, she would say they were both initiates.
Uh-huh.
Like Socrates was an initiate, and before him, Pythagoras.
Berta and I attended a class together, and this reminds me of that the teacher described the worldwide connection through the trading routes, that spirituality and religion were generalized across really large regions because scrolls or whatever the communication writing was carried between really, I mean, very slowly, obviously. It was over time because they were transported by camel, but that there was ritual shared and oral traditions brought between the peoples through maybe, I mean, there must have been translation and things. So it's remotely possible that some of the writings of one went to the other, or, you know, these greats, that they were basing off of some other oral tradition or text that maybe wasn't like how we do things. So a shorter essence of things was shared. And that fascinates me because I saw a documentary about the trade routes and the spice route and how it's supported. As long as there wasn't a lot of war happening between the places, it was supported by everyone along the route. And of course, because everyone was trading with each other, there was well, I don't know what the word would be, like international support for continuing all of these connections. So it was a sharing of poetry and music and beliefs, more than we would think. It was like the very slow version of internet in a way, because they were, maybe there was even some people who went very, very long distances over years, who were the traveling, you know, who knows, performers, poets, spiritual keepers. And so that fascinates me, that we think of the ancient world as separated and not literate. And in that, yes, they weren't sharing books, obviously, but they were sharing to to some degree, a common knowing. And also it was a different energy then too. So, what was coming forth and being prickled on their spiritual, chakras was going to be different than what we experience now, but common, that humanity was growing in its commonness for many different reasons at that time. I think it was and even like the prophets who came when they came at a certain time because the consciousness called them in at that time. And the teachers like Plato. But it's a whole different way of looking at it. I mean, she blew my mind so many times because she would make connections between why this wealthy person had this going on at this time, and then it was repeated here, and then how even the Roman army had something to do with how things were distributed at the time of Christ. And so that's what I'm reminded of.
Well, I don't know if I'm right or not, but you mentioned about justice, and I would associate justice with Zeus, because I've read that in astrology, Jupiter, which is the Roman name for Zeus, is associated, I think, with justice. And I suppose the sign Sagittarius. But, it's also interesting, that, the Plato talked about karma, his doctrine of recollection, and that there are these scribes, the recorders. In the secret doctrine, they use the Sanskrit word for scribe, lipika. And, they record everything, just like on a microcosmic level, the soul records everything. And today, Hope recorded this talk.
So Hope is the scribe of the gods?
Yeah.
So
For this round.
I think it's also interesting about the soul cannot be dissolved. And, Renee, and I hope that we can put the talk, the lecture on the website.
Well, yeah.
Because in her talk, Renee makes a real point about the fact that at her school, which was in New Jersey, Rutgers University, when they would basically give the syllabus for the degree in philosophy, they would define philosophy only as the love of wisdom. They would not give the prime definition from Plato, which is philosophy. I didn't know this, but I mean, I learned this in Renee's talk, that philosophy, by definition, is the practice of the art of death and dying. And Renee said, if we advertise that, nobody would sign up.
Mm-hmm.
But the soul does not die. That's the point, I think, that comes out of this, program, is that there are the lipika, the recorders, the scribes, there's karma, there's reincarnation. Plato said, we have lived before. Now, we don't remember. I mean, I don't remember what I had for lunch yesterday.
as an adept or as a master teacher, he must have had some continuity of consciousness. So he must have known that he had lived before. He must have remembered. I'd be really fascinated to know if, I mean, there's not going to be anything to, there's no way to know this, but I would love to know who he was in other lifetimes and if he knew that.
Yeah. Well, I read in the material of C.W. Leadbeater, who, of course, is a very, very well-known theosophist and known primarily for his clairvoyance. And, you know, the clairvoyance was filtered through the personality of Leadbeater. So you can't necessarily take everything he said. Well, you can take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But one of the things that startled me is that Leadbeater said that Blavatsky's teacher, the master K.H., was a reincarnation of Pythagoras.
I believe it.
Oh,
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Another thing I found quite startling when I was doing some of this reading is that, you know, Pythagoras had his school in Crotona, and of course the Theosophical Center is named Crotona after Pythagoras' school. You know, in the lower part of the peninsula of Italy, there is a city of Crotona. But that was where Pythagoras had his school. And you had to be very, very serious to apply for that school. And one of the requirements to attend that school of Pythagoras was that you had to spend 5 years in silence.
stunning.
Not for extroverts. Oh my God.
No, we couldn't take our iPhone there.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So is Pythagoras the one who really brought the sacred geometry concepts out? the
Yes,
most? Yeah.
mathematics,
Yep.
astronomy.
And he was saying that he got that knowledge from ancient knowledge in Egypt, right?
Yes, yes, he was very well traveled. Spent time in India, time in Egypt. Of course, astrology in India has a tremendous history. But there's another thing I didn't know. Pythagoras was married. He had children. I think he had 2 daughters and 1 son.
Wow.
Cool. I wonder if he spent 5 years in silence himself.
Right, right.
Maybe before he got married.
Yeah.
Wow. Hmm.
Plato was not married.
Yeah. Hmm. So what's the timing? So Pythagoras was when? 500 before or more?
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, 500. I don't remember the dates,
Yeah.
but yeah, over 500 BC.
Yeah.
And then there was Socrates, who was probably 40 years older than Plato.
Yep.
Socrates was also married.
I had to read all that stuff in, college, but boy, it's gone now. Makes me curious again. Go
Oh,
back.
I wrote down just Plato's Republic because I know I read that when I was in college, but I don't recall, other than little references here and there, I don't recall. So I'm gonna try and read it again just to because it came up today, I think.
Well, I really, really recommend those audio recordings of Renee Weber on the Theosophical Society website, the audio archives. There's about 6 different lectures by Renee on Greek philosophy.
On the field.
And I'll link to them on the New Orleans website too.
Oh, okay.
Renee and Ravi Ravindra were very, good friends, colleagues, but I mean, definitely friends. And they were also very friendly with J. Krishnamurti, who lived in Ojai until 1986.
What was the sort, or what was some of the ancient art in the video?
Remind me what you're talking about.
It looked like some of it was Sumerian.
Well,
And even
it was Egypt. I mean, the pyramids.
Yeah, but there was something that didn't look Egyptian. It looked Sumerian or something. Do you know? I was just curious.
I thought most of it was Greek.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't that old then. Okay.
Some of it I recognized, that red vase painting, and then there was that image of the bull rider, the acrobat on the bull.
Yeah.
That was, yeah. I love
That looked Greek. But it
Yeah.
also looked Atlantean. That's very much Atlantean.
I had heard something today, just for what it's worth, about that a lot of people from Atlantis are now incarnating now.
In the United States.
Yeah. So I've been chewing on that today. I heard that earlier, and I was like, what does that mean? Anyway, for what it's worth.
I wrote it down, but I lost my note. There's one of the volumes in Blavatsky's collected writings that has some really fascinating information about Atlantis. And I wrote it down, but now I don't know where the note is. But Blavatsky's collected writings, has an index, and you can just look up Atlantis and you'll find it.
Yeah, I have the PDF, and it just goes on forever, but you can do a search for Atlantis. And I have looked through some of it. It's really fascinating.
Yeah.
What she said. And it's also because the Tibetans knew about Atlantis. So they're kind of the keepers of the ancient knowledge.
Yeah.